Today we welcome Dr. Sam LaCroix, who is a native Austinite. He is owner of Whole Athletes. He is head athletic trainer for NCAA and NAIA universities. The list goes on. Today we are so pumped to have you in studio, Dr. Sam, and we look forward to hearing more about your story. So first things first, I mentioned that you were a native Austinite. What made you stay around in Austin?
First and foremost, I love this town. Yeah. That is the number one thing that has made me and my wife want to stay here long term. We both grew up here in Austin, and it has been a part of our history as a couple, and then also just the place that we have absolutely loved the most. I'd lived in Dallas for a couple years when I was younger. My wife and I moved away to Georgia for chiropractic school, and I'm pretty sure 5 minutes after we crossed the state line going out of Texas, my wife said, we're going back, right? And I said, absolutely, 100%. It was on the list of 2 places that we wanted to move when we came back from chiropractic school, and Austin easily won out.
Easily. Well, you noted that you guys were in Georgia for a bit when you were both at chiropractic school?
My wife is not at chiropractic school. She came with me.
She was along for the ride. Okay. Well, I'm originally from Marietta, Georgia.
That's where my school was.
So when I saw that, I was like, wow, what a small world. What led you to choosing Life University over the other chiropractic schools?
So that was something that when I was getting ready to apply to chiropractic schools, I had effectively surveyed a bunch of the doctors that I knew here in Austin or had worked with previously, asking each and every one of them, if you were going to go back to school tomorrow, where would you go? Mm-hmm. And I think almost unanimously, everyone came back with go to Life. It's the best school. It's the largest chiropractic school in the nation. They've got a great program. You will definitely become a really good chiropractor if you go through there. And I definitely feel like it helped a whole lot. It was a great school. It was a good experience. And it helped me become the provider I am.
Wow. And so how long is the program there at Life?
So the program is 3.5 years. We do effectively our residency at the same time as our schooling. So there's give or take about 26 to 28 hour quarters. So it is a lot.
Wow. But the fact that I ask because my lack of knowledge in that realm is limited, but is that the case at pretty much any chiropractic school where you're getting your hours and going to school?
Yes. Okay. Yes, that is pretty typical. Some programs will push the clinical components where you're actually practicing the skills and treating patients until the very end. My school had it kind of built into the program through a majority of the program where you start off adjusting fellow students. Then you work on the public, and then you go into your internship components afterwards.
Wow, that's amazing. So how did you enjoy your time in Georgia?
I don't know that enjoy the time in Georgia would be the best way to phrase it. It was a very school-focused. It was a very difficult program. We were very focused. So there was not a whole lot of time for fun, enjoying Atlanta, anything else like that. Yeah. It was something pretty much once per quarter, usually at the beginning of the quarter when we would get our loan checks in, everything else like that. The entire school would head down into Atlanta for one weekend of fun, and then we went back to studying. Yeah.
So what's the normal path for someone that, after you get your doctorate in chiropractics? Is it to look into your own practice? Is it to join another practice? Is it to just kind of freelance, if you will? What's the path like?
I would say majority of people will end up going into an associate position. There are definitely a good group of providers that start off as their own practice, whether it's, buying an existing practice, whether it is starting from scratch and kind of building up their patient base. But I would say a good chunk of people will go through the associate route, working for another provider for a little bit and then branching off on their own. And that's what I did starting off.
Yeah. And do you feel like that was beneficial to you in your career to join a practice, an existing practice before your own?
It definitely was. The first practice I worked for here in Austin was actually a mentor of mine. It was the person who got me to go to chiropractic school. And I had a really good relationship with him through school. He helped me get everything started. I learned a lot at that office and grew a lot as a provider at that office. And after about 1.5 years of working there, decided to go out on my own. Started my own practice after that, worked there for a couple years, merged with the office that I worked with for 3.5, 4 years after that. So it's something that by going into that associate route, it allowed me to grow and build and get myself ready to take on that next step.
Yeah. And you noted your new practice.
Yes.
Can you give viewers and listeners a glimpse into, your decision, what led to your decision to found your own practice, and then also what the reasoning behind the name of the practice.
Yes. So it was something that when I merged with the practice that I most recently left, I'd always wanted to get back to ownership. At the time of the merger, everything absolutely made sense to go in. I definitely was being brought in as a partner, and through COVID and a bunch of other changes that happened, the role changed, and I knew that I always wanted to get back to ownership. It was something that I felt a calling for it. I felt a calling to really try and be that decision maker, and also wanted to practice a little bit differently than the way the office I was working with at the time practiced. It was something that their methods are great. It's a really great office. It's a really fantastic environment to work there. But I felt I needed to do something different. And so with developing it, I thought of what do I want to see in a practice? And I'd always wanted to feel almost very, collegiate athletic training style. And so with that, they will implement using different providers as well. So I want this practice to have the physical hands-on treatment that I do, in addition to strength and a conditioning component or rehab components as well. I want to bring on a second pillar of treatment, which is going to be nutritional support for the athletes. So I want to bring in a registered dietitian that works specifically with sports. And then long-term, I also want to bring in a sports psychology aspect of it as well, and kind of really focus everything towards treating the athlete as a whole human, as a person, and making sure that they have those support pillars to be able to rely on when they're going through a high training cycle or a collegiate training cycle or an Olympic training cycle, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Wow. So hence the name.
Exactly. Whole athlete.
Hence the name. Wow. That's so... And you noted that your kind of vision or mindset from your old practice is different than what you wanted to eventually implement at your own practice. What were, I guess, some of the takeaways that you used to implement at your new practice? Like you mentioned, taking care of different elements, like the mental side, strength training. Why was that important to you?
So for me, it's something that from my background as an athletic trainer, I think that's where a lot of that really develops from. And so with being an athletic trainer and working in that collegiate environment previously, I saw how impactful even just doing the muscle and strength work can be on an athlete returning to play, returning to function. It's something part of why I wanted to add chiropractic to that is because I saw that as another window to be able to help that athlete grow and recover quicker. And then being able to introduce the other components, the nutrition, the sports psychology, it really rounds out that person's ability to perform at a high level.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That is so, being that I'm not a owner of a chiropractic, never went to school for that, but it's really cool to hear your perspective on that. Because I think that I go to a gym here in Austin, Collective, shout out. And I love their theology behind why they are doing what they're doing. For someone that's just an average Joe, they have, the cold plunge and the sauna, and they have the cupping, and they have the nutritionists. They brought in Alive and Well so they can do all of the IVs and peptides. And, for your average person, it's a great one-stop shop. But I feel like for somebody that's training at a higher level, like you said, an Olympic athlete or college athlete or, professional athlete, to have that in one place just because their time is so limited is super smart. So kudos.
I just want to have those resources available is really what it is, or be able to connect those athletes. Because a lot of, especially if we're talking U.S. Olympic athletes, almost all of them are self-funded. Yeah. And so it's something that they need to have the ability to get in touch with, all of those different providers, all of those different resources as quickly as possible. And being able to, house it under one roof is going to be a really exciting, impactful way to do so.
Very efficient too. What are some of the trends or themes you're seeing in your clients? One or two things why they're coming to you?
I think that one of the big ones that I would probably say I hear, as feedback from the client on a regular basis is the ability to take the time to listen. One of the things that I really try and do with each client, especially in that initial client interview and as we're continuing through treatment, I want to continue asking questions, continue trying to dig deeper and find out, all right, what's going on with whatever component we're dealing with, whether your shoulder pain is coming from the fact that you work on a laptop or you're looking at a phone or you're a student or whatever those components are bringing into it, in addition to the fact that you're a throwing sport athlete, all of those are impactful. And so being able to dig into that secondary level or tertiary level and be able to find out what's really happening with that athlete, what stressors are going on, what repetitive motions are they doing that can be contributing to the problem really will make a difference. And then, taking it a step further of like, all right, cool. Are you getting enough sleep every night? Are you eating well? Are you feeling stressed from school or work or training? And then being able to ask them those type of questions allows me to get more and more information about what's going on with each patient, with each client.
Yeah.
And so that I would probably say is the thing that I hear coming back the most, is that taking the time to listen, taking the time to find out what's really happening.
Yeah. And is it kind of twofold to where it's like, obviously you listening to them and what's going on in their world, but also, that expression of like listening to your body, like if something feels off,
Yes.
Diving deeper. Yeah.
That is something like, I think that I'll have patients come in saying something to the effect of like, oh, it's almost like whether it was a previous coach or trainer or something else like that, didn't hear when I was saying that this was hurting or uncomfortable or whatever else like that. For me, until I have a really good reason to believe that that patient or client or someone is not telling me something that is true, that is accurate or something else like that, you tell me it hurts, I believe it hurts, plain and simple.
Yeah.
That's what you're experiencing. That's what you're feeling. And so we need to take that into account and find out, all right, what can be causing this to happen?
Right. It's funny, I should have brought this up earlier, but it made me think as you were talking that I myself, because of my kind of lack of knowledge, I mean, the only experiences I have with a chiropractic facility is when I was younger and my mom went and she had a lot of back and neck pain. And so that's why she sought treatment. But then we would just tag along and the chiropractor was like, we're going to pop your popcorn. But I'm like, what, I'm 10 years old. Like, why do I need to go see a chiropractor?
Right.
For you, aside from your, professional clients, why would like a normal person who might seemingly be like, okay, and that maybe wants to just try it out, because I feel like a lot of health and wellness things are, not that this is trendy, but are like, oh, I'm just going to go try it out. They might not have any pain.
So that's when we get into trying to like make sure that your ability to perform like the normal day-to-day things that are impactful to you. So if you're a client that is seeking, we call it performance care in our practice. Performance care is the ability to continue living your normal life without any kind of restriction. So it may be that you're not in pain, discomfort, or something like that. But you want to make sure that you are sitting ergonomically and efficiently at work, that you are lifting well, and you want to make sure you've got the mobility to be able to go to the gym. Like you said, you go to Collective, making sure that you're able to do the lifts and demands, because I know that they ask you to do a hard workout there. And they put a lot of workload on you then. So let's make sure that you're able to continue functioning as well as you can so that you can get the most out of that workout. Yeah. It's really about allowing each person to perform in whatever they're doing. It doesn't matter if you are a high-level athlete. It doesn't matter if you are a mom taking care of your kids, if you are a student in classes all the time, things like that. Like there's going to be stress on your body. And so my goal with that is to help you move efficiently, help you move well, and hopefully open up different avenues of movement for you.
Yeah. Does your current practice offer like a consult, like somebody that, again, might not have this lingering pain or something that's bothering them every day. But again, it's something they're interested in and might feel that they have a need for?
So usually we'll bring someone in for an evaluation on that one would be our consultation on that. Yeah. Because some of that, like it's going to be harder to determine over the phone.
Right.
Hey, are you moving poorly because of the fact that you're sitting all day or because of some other issue that's going on in there? That one I would probably say, let's get hands-on, let's do the orthopedic tests we need to, let's kind of evaluate how those segments are moving, take you through a movement analysis, and then we'll be able to make a better determination or recommendation for you. Mm-hmm. It's something I probably won't do a lot of phone consultations or things like that because of that. It's hard to say like, oh, hey, you've got restriction here over the phone without being able to see what's going on.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I was looking at your list of services and I saw one of them is cupping.
Yes.
What is the logic behind, again, the whole athlete? Mm-hmm. So how can cupping benefit? an athlete?
So cupping, so first off, the mechanism of cupping is what we want to start with. When we're doing cupping, we're pulling air out of an air pumped like cup. It sits on top of the skin, and then we pull the air out of it to create that negative pressure. That negative pressure will lift up skin, it'll lift up fascia, and it'll change blood flow around that area. Let's take the example of like a hamstring issue, strain, tightness, something like that.
Yep.
By putting those cups onto the hamstring, lifting up the skin, lifting up the fascia, we're allowing that area to move a little bit more freely. We're increasing blood flow to that area, and we've made a change in the tension on that fascia around it. So it's something that will allow that area to move differently, a little bit better. It'll free up motion. I do like using cupping with movement and also the static cups so that we can, one, encourage the blood flow, and then two, hopefully lift up and pull on some of those areas of restriction while someone's going through a range of motion.
Is this something that could be used not only for, recovery or if someone's having an issue, but like more like a preventative measure?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
It's something that like cupping is a pretty safe technique to be able to use on just about anyone. There's a few types of clients that I won't use it on. But overall, it's a pretty safe, it's a non-invasive technique. It's something that, you can buy a set of cups on Amazon and try it on yourself.
Yeah.
It's really not going to be something that I'm worried about you doing. But there are areas that will be better to have a provider work through those on you.
Right. I know the only visual that I'm like getting is, I remember one of the Olympics and Michael Phelps had and so I'm like thinking, obviously I don't know his like day to day, but I'm like, is he doing this because he's like hurting, like his back is hurting, or?
Not necessarily, especially an athlete at that level, that is likely more performance based than anything else. So it can be to help, again, allow for better movement of those muscles, especially like in the Olympics. He was going through 3 races a day, sometimes 4 races a day, sometimes between prelims and qualifying and finals and everything else like that. So an athlete working that hard, he was barely having time to get out of the warm-up pool, go to his race, go back to the warm-up pool so he can get ready for the next one, trying to keep everything loose, trying to keep everything as mobile as possible. That would likely come down to making sure that he doesn't feel a restriction at the end of his pull or reach, almost more than trying to prevent an injury or something like that.
Yeah, that was crazy. But like if you're competing at such a high level, It makes sense. But I just, as a normal person, I'm like, oh, I remember seeing that and being like, why is he cupping?
Well, and it's something that's becoming like less weird to see someone, day to day walking around with cupping marks on them.
Yeah.
It's something that is derived from like the ancient Chinese approach, which was thinking that it's going to be pulling toxins out of the blood. It's, if you have a darker mark, it meant that there was more stagnant blood flow in that area. And I'm not in any way knocking that is the case in any way, shape, or form. There's a reason that this has been done and is effective for the last 3,000 years, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm using it for that increase in blood flow, change in fascia tension, things like that.
Yeah. You mentioned a lot of the different services and kind of your way of thinking with your new practice. What are some new technologies that you may be either currently incorporating or looking to incorporate that might help your current clients?
So one of the ones that has been very popular lately is a red light therapy. So we just actually got our red light therapy unit in this week, and I'm really excited to get it all set up and ready to go for clients. Awesome. So we'll be using that as a secondary treatment option. It's not going to be like, oh, we're only bringing you in for red light therapy. It will be, in addition to doing these other things, we'll also be adding on the red light therapy to it. Another one is going to be, it's a device called the Tecker device. So it is using a electromagnetic current to be able to change the blood flow in an area, increase the metabolites to come in and help that area heal. But it's done through a pretty cool unit that has a capacitive and resistive mode, meaning that it sends current through and the resistance of your body will heat up an area from the inside out and allow for better blood flow in that area on a specific targeted spot. You can use it both with like scraping tools in addition to just the normal application with your hands, and it's a pretty awesome therapy device.
Whoa. Okay, so like the red light therapy, because again, that's been a trend that's been very popular, not only in like performance, but like beauty. So is this red light therapy, like, are you in a room?
We're going to be using it basically like on the way our panel is, it's it's hard to explain on a video. We'll call it's a 2 foot long by 1 foot wide unit, and so it will cover a large area of the body. So we'll treat large zones at the same time.
Gotcha.
With that red light shining on your skin activates so many different receptors that have different controls on what happens within your body because of their activation.
Yeah.
And it's something that more and more research is coming out on it, and it's a very valuable tool. I have seen some really great results with using this, and the patients have really enjoyed it. So definitely want to continue using it.
Well, now I'm intrigued. So what are some of the benefits or things that you're seeing clients are enjoying about
So there is a small pain control quality. So it is something that it can be effective for pain control. It's most effective for pain control on people suffering from neuropathies or nerve pain. So having that light shine over the areas of specific pain, irritation, things like that can be extremely valuable in reduction of pain, reduction in symptoms.
Yep.
It is going to increase blood flow because of that stimulus to the skin. It's going to cause a warming effect throughout as well. There's also going to be the stimulus to the tissue regeneration molecules within our body. And so it's a really great way to access all of those different things and activate all of those different things within your body as we're trying to get you to heal, in addition to the muscle activation exercises that we're doing, the strengthening things that we're doing, and also the chiropractic work.
Yeah. What are some of you've noted over our conversation, some of the strength exercises that you're incorporating? Is that more like a PT type of thing?
It is going to be very similar to a physical therapy style. Okay. Yes. I'm definitely deriving a lot of like the rehab protocols from being an athletic trainer. I definitely spend a lot of time researching like physical therapy protocols as well so that we can be able to provide at a similar level for that. It's something we definitely cannot call ourselves physical therapists based on our practice acts and everything like that. But we will be operating very similarly to that.
Yeah. That's amazing. Wow. If I were an athlete, I would be coming to you. Okay, so being a former athlete yourself, why do you believe that investing in chiropractic care is so important?
So for me as a former athlete, it was something that allowed me to continue training and working at the level that I wanted to. It's going to be the easiest way to phrase it. It's something that will help the performance component because you're not feeling restricted due to pain, due to tightness, due to an injury that's been bothering you for a little bit. All of those things will cause a reduction in your ability to train and your ability to put forth the effort that you need to advance in your sport. And so if those things are restricting your ability to do what you need to do on the practice field, in the rink, wherever you are in the pool, it is something that is going to slow down your progress, slow down your career. And so with that, we are trying to help your performance, make sure that there is access to that type of care, that we are trying to keep everything working at that highest professional level, at that highest mindset, and just bring that to everybody.
Would you say that that's one of the reasons you wanted to become a chiropractor, or where did that kind of like, when I grow up, I want to be a chiropractor?
So that came from the office I had mentioned, the first chiropractor I worked for here in town. I grew up as a figure skater, lots of falls, lots of like hard landings. The ice is not particularly forgiving. Through injury and skating, I'd seen a normal chiropractor for a long time, and there wasn't a whole lot of interest in chiropractic until I saw this particular doctor. He did things in a different way because he incorporated both the like high level tools. He incorporated the like strength and conditioning component as well, and also was affiliated at the time with like University of Texas. And he's like had all these big athletes coming in and Olympic athletes coming in. I was like, this is a really cool thing. Also, this is a different type of treatment than I'd received before. Yep. And so at that point, it definitely sparked my interest in it. I kind of started talking to him, how did you get here? Yeah. What was the process? Everything along those lines. I, worked through my undergrad as an athletic trainer and then worked professionally as an AT after that. And it definitely was something I was like, all right, this is cool, but I know that there can be more. Right. And that's what made me want to go to chiropractic school.
Wow. That's awesome. I know I'm always intrigued by like what made people or how people got to where they got to, so to hear that like this mentor of yours had such an impression on you at, you were in high school at the 16, time or 16, that's great. I guess, what are some of the common misconceptions that you hear from people or just kind of in the chiropractic world about what you do?
I'd say the first one is always going to be everyone saying like, all right, if you start going to the chiropractor, you're always going to have to forever go to the chiropractor, 100%.
Yeah.
That is always the fastest one that I'll hear. My goal is always to allow people to like function at their best.
Yeah.
There's going to be patients where they get to a point where they're like, hey, I feel great. Like, I'll come back to you if I like have something else pop up. Cool. If that's how you want to use this type of care, this type of treatment, great. No problem. We'll see you when you get back. I will always be an option. Our doors are always open. We're not going to try and shut anyone out for that. And then let me think of the other ones. I'm trying to think of another one off the top of my head. I guess the like crack being the like most important component of it. Yeah. It is a very gratifying feeling to get a really big cavitation pop, click, clunk when you get an adjustment. Yeah. But that is just a release of nitrogen. And so it is not what's actually moving. We're trying to get movement into that joint capsule. We're trying to get movement into that joint space. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll get a really big crack. Sometimes you get a little teeny tiny click. Sometimes you get just a little shift sensation. Yeah. So the important component there is the stimulation to the joint capsule and the movement underneath that. Yeah. That is the actually big important thing. The cracks are awesome and they sound great, but they're not the important part.
See, I'm glad that you get enjoyment out of that because, again, back to my like 10-year-old self, that was terrifying. I'm like, this is not popcorn, sir. This is my neck, you know?
And so for that, we do have a lot of clients that absolutely hate the pops. Yeah. They do not want to hear them. And so for that, we have tools that we can use to have a very gentle adjustment, not have any pops, clicks or clunks, anything like that. You don't even get like the big rotations with them. It's a small handheld tool called an activator that you can use, and it will give you the same level of, movement to the joint capsule, stimulation, everything like we were talking about, but without the noise.
Interesting. Okay. So my niece, when she was first born, she's like not even a year old right now, but went to a chiropractor to help with like her digestive issues, and they used a hand tool. But would that be similar?
Yep,
okay,
you can use them on
babies, and
oh wow, yes, they can be dialed down to a very, very light force. Wow. Yes, so it is safe to use on infants. It is safe to use on babies. Yeah. Like I adjusted my daughter when she first came out of the womb. Absolutely.
That's when I went to one of her appointments, I was like, what the heck? Because he's like, oh, she's done. And I'm like, he's like, I'm going to adjust her. I'm like, with this tool? Like, is he poking her with that? Because again, I was always used to like the cracking and like that's what I associated with chiropractors.
Yes, especially with, young children, babies, infants. Mm-hmm. The techniques are so gentle. Most of the time, it looks like nothing is happening. Yeah. And then over the next couple of days, the parents will come back and be like, oh, that made a big difference. It looked like you did nothing. Yeah. It's like, yes, we're not trying to have big, exciting clunks, clicks, and things like that with a small human like that.
Yeah. Wow. That is really good to know. But like, that's amazing that, again, because she saw results probably within not even days after her first couple of visits. For you and your current client base, what or how do you like tailor a specific kind of game plan, if you will, to them? Being that you do have a lot of different services that you offer, like let's just take maybe one of your college athletes and like a specific example if you can give, or just a broad example.
So a lot of that's going to depend on what they're coming in with this. So I'm not always going to use every tool that we have on every single person. It's going to depend on what problem is presenting and also what the specific condition is entailing. So if we have someone with we'll go with like an easy example, college soccer player that just came in with an ankle sprain. Yep. We're going to not necessarily immediately go towards heavy adjustments or things like that because that ligament has already been stretched and moved, and we don't necessarily need to put a ton of force through that. It can be really helpful in reducing swelling and things along those lines and getting mobility back, but we really need to gently mobilize that area, get the swelling out of that area, and flush the edema out of there so that all of those repair processes can really start. Mm-hmm. And then we'll go into a very standard protocol of like, getting the ankle moving again. Then we go into like basic stabilization and activation of the proprioception, really going back to those PT principles that we kind of talked about earlier. And then supplementing them with, hey, we need to adjust and mobilize that talus. We need to make sure that your calcaneus is moving efficiently so that you can start to receive force into that and build strength on that. Yeah. We really want to get that stability back as quick as possible so that they can then start the fun sport-specific training. Yep. And it's really, there's a protocol like that for just about every area.
Yeah. How do you work with, if you're working with a college athlete, how does the relationship work with like the school or like the coach and you? Because I know that can probably get tricky.
So my goal, having worked as an athletic trainer, my goal is always to work with the athletic trainers. They are the people on the ground doing a lot of the primary work there. And so it's something that a lot of times if someone, let's say a college athlete, is being referred to my clinic, it's because the athletic trainer feels that they need something that they cannot provide for them day in, day out already. And so it's really trying to make sure that they are staying in the loop as much as possible. Typically in that college setting, the athletic trainer is going to be doing the communication between the coach and the athlete, or the coach and the supplementary provider like myself. But really making sure that I communicate well with their number one point of contact and number one person who's evaluating the injury to start off with is going to be the biggest thing. From there, it is, hey, do you need to be doing your rehab with that provider day in, day out? I'm going to make sure and give you some directions on that. But I also will always advocate back towards the, home athletic trainer, the, person in charge of their care, because they're the decision makers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that is going to be communication, number one, 100%, making sure to talk to them about what's happening.
And kind of, give them that game plan and then leave that door open if, down the road they have another issue arise, or if they, again, the athletic trainer, as you noted, can't give them that care.
Right. And there's going to be things that we do in practice that the athletic trainer doesn't. Like, most athletic trainers are not licensed to do manipulations or adjustments or things like that. And so that's going to be something that, hey, in addition to what's going on with this ankle, or, hey, you've had to be walking around in a boot because of your ankle injury and recovery, let's make sure that your hip and pelvis are not creating problems because you're walking around on an unstable surface the entire time, or on a different height shoe. It's something that will have an impact on that athlete. And so to make sure that when they are getting back to those fun return to play things, that there's not secondary issues because of this ankle injury, is another component to it.
How would you say your methodology or just way of thinking when it comes to not just your professional clients, like your regular clients, like myself, if I were to come to you, and the education portion of everything, like, say I'm coming in just for kind of normal maintenance, making sure that I understand the why, but then also, like, as you noted with players that you're seeing for injuries and like PT, why it's important that you follow what I'm telling you to do.
So that patient education is, again, when I kind of talked about like listening to my clients,
right,
that is another component. I want to make sure that if you are coming in, that you understand why we're working on that type of thing. I definitely talk a lot in clinic. Like, I feel pretty comfortable with that. I want to make sure that the patient has a good understanding of what we're doing, why we're doing it, where we're going with that. So especially even in explaining early on exercises with the patient, like, for instance, I had a patient that was going over like really basic core exercises for their low back this week. But then talk to them about how it's going to apply to the sport that they like to play. So this is a recreational tennis player. She's having low back issues, but we talked about core stability and how that's going to translate into more consistent tennis play, and showing, all right, this is where we're starting. These are some of the progressions that we'll go through as we're going along. And this is why it's going to help you do what you like doing.
Yeah.
Yes, that explanation from start to finish is something that I really like to try and bring in and talk to you pretty consistently throughout the care of, hey, this is the stage we're in. This is the, portion of that recovery. And hey, you've come so far. We were barely able to do this early on exercise. Now we're on the advanced version of it. And just being able to kind of highlight those little wins throughout the recovery process is always an important component. Yeah,
no, I feel like having a one-stop shop like you have, it's important, because I feel like even on the kind of comparing healthcare with like the more holistic approach, functional medicine, is just, again, very trendy right now. A lot of people are looking to take that approach versus like normal, quote unquote, healthcare.
Right.
And to have someone like you that's, tackling not just the physical, but like the mental and the nutrition portion, because all of that like goes into play.
Yes, for sure.
A lot of people don't think about. I feel like I was today years old when I learned, just a lot of things I've been learning recently. Can you share briefly a little bit of like a success story that you've had with one of your clients, maybe from like, whether it be like an injury or just seeing them transition, like you were just noting with your last client, like having lower back pain and then kind of their back up and running?
So yes, actually, I've got a great example of that. This is a client who's actually the wife of a childhood best friend of mine, or I guess it's a childhood best friend's younger brother.
Okay.
So I had been hanging out with my childhood best friend, and his younger brother had come up with his wife. I was introducing to them, talking to them about, chiropractic. It can be helpful to you. I'd love to take care of you, help you out.
Yep.
When she initially came into the clinic, she'd been on all kinds of like back pain medication, like some pretty hard opiates for quite a long time. And I feel maybe offhandedly, I'd kind of said, I'd love to be able to get you off those. Let's see if we can make a difference for you.
Right.
When we first started working with her, she could barely tolerate even a very, very moderate or light pressure when it came to some of the muscle release work that we were trying to do. Worked through it in a bunch of different ways, used a bunch of different tools to be able to try and get to that, being able to work the muscles, work the fascia.
Yeah.
Within a few months, she started not needing a lot of the pain medication that she was taking. Within about 6 months, she was completely off the pain medication and able to function and move a lot better than she had been. She is a consistent client. She has been coming in for quite a while, but it's because she's been able to get more function, get more mobility, and do well with her care. She does have other complications to her care. She had had a pretty horrific accident where she had broken both of her legs at the same time when she was younger. So she has a lot of secondary injuries because of that. But it's something that we were able to take her from a point where she was having day-to-day pain to the point where she needed, high-level narcotic medication, and she does not need to take those. Now she is moving around well. She is like functioning day-to-day life without that. And so that was a very exciting like care plan, and it was something that she got to see the progress along the way, and it made a really big difference in her life. And I love like continuing to work with them and like love having her come in every week.
Yeah.
And I would probably say she's not my like typical, like, higher level athlete. This was just a, pretty normal person coming in.
Yeah. But that's, not to get too deep on this, but that's why I'm looking to take a more functional approach with my health and wellness, because I feel like, not to stereotype the healthcare system, but basically, I feel like they put a Band-Aid on things versus looking more in depth and peeling back the layers and kind of the real why versus, oh, you have this? Okay, there you go.
I would definitely agree with that. It's something that the healthcare system is designed as a very reactive system, 100%. It is not proactive. Even with most health insurance plans, preventative care is almost completely not covered. If it is covered, you have a limit to the amount of coverage that you're going to have. Whereas like the reactive component is, we're fully covered on that. You've got a $20 copay for it. You can do whatever you need to.
Yeah.
So it's something that our system is designed very, very reactively.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. My wheels are turning. What are some of the things you would say are challenges or hurdles that you've had to overcome throughout your transition into your own practice now?
It's a good question. I don't know that I've thought about that. Challenges and hurdles to overcome. I don't know that I've thought about that.
Yeah. Or I guess maybe let me rephrase it. Maybe things that you haven't necessarily thought about that have come up and you've been like, I didn't, or just, I know that you had like some, not construction, if you will, issues, but like issues with the opening and kind of having to push that back, or like just like little things like that you didn't maybe foresee.
Yes, there's definitely been a lot of, we'll call it small delays, in getting like the business up and running. And I think that would be something that's going to be typical of any like new business, growing business, everything else like that are, something silly, like, easy example of a silly little delay. For whatever reason or another, my 2-factor authentication messages are not coming through on my cell phone right now on like my cell phone. So going through on the business phone, no problem. The only problem is on like day one of opening up, our merchant processor needed a 2-factor authentication to be able to get into it for the day.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge of being able to call up the processor and get everything set up again, or change the number so that they could send it to the other business number and be able to charge the patient.
Yeah.
Little things like that. It has definitely felt a little bit in the opening that for every normal seeming task,
right,
it's not a 1 or 2 step process. It's a 3 to 5 step process.
Yep.
And that's been the case. And I would say that's probably pretty typical of any office getting ready to open, any new business getting ready to open.
Oh, for
but a lot of fun little things like that.
Yeah, but it's like, looking back, it's like, oh, those were just minimal. But I mean,
Right.
in IT, bless everybody that works in IT, because that's
Yes.
a language I do not speak.
I've definitely spent a lot of time with the help desks on a few of the systems that we're working with right now. Absolutely.
Oh man, that's amazing. How do you feel like you approach or handle feedback when it comes to whether it be your clients or just people on the interwebs,
Feedback is definitely one of the most important things I need. And it's something that with every client on visit one, on
Right.
every follow-up visit, one of my statements every single time is, hey, I need to know how you respond to this. I need that feedback so that we can proceed forward, so we can move forward. I try and prep the client as much as I can, like walking out of the door. Hey, this is how I expect this to respond, but these are the options that it can be. Let me know what's going on there. When it comes to feedback on the internet, I'm not the type of person to typically like look up reviews if a client has left a review or things like that. It's something I'm very I'm very grateful that people will leave reviews on places, or with like the type of care we have, everything else like that. Yeah. I don't typically read a lot of them, and that's probably because I'm not super comfortable hearing if someone says something nice about me.
Yep.
I don't know that I'm super comfortable hearing that.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate people being able to say whatever they do. Yeah. But that's probably something I need to be able to work on taking that compliment, if that is a compliment, a lot better.
Yeah. But it's good to hear, I guess someone that does run their own practice, that they are willing to accept feedback, because obviously that can only help you grow. Like at the end of the day, like, why you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
And that's just maybe something that you could take into consideration.
Well, the other component is we also need to know if something is not responding in the way that we expect it to, because there are going to be some cases that we start working on it. We kind of go through what would be a standard protocol for something, and the patient's not responsive. I need to know that they're not responsive, so that if we need to refer for a X-ray, if we need to refer for advanced imaging in some way, or if we need to make a referral to a pain management specialist or something along those lines, or an orthopedic surgeon, whatever it may be, I need to know that that is not going according to plan.
Right.
And so that is also part of educating the client on, hey, this is what we expect. If we're not getting results within 3 to 4 weeks, this is the plan of action of what we're going to do at that point in time. Over those 3 to 4 weeks that we're treating them, I need to know how they're responding for sure. So we need to know better, worse, or neutral. Hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah. It's goes back to you saying, listen, like, this is not working. We need a alternate route.
Yes. It's like my favorite, like Ted Lasso quote right now, be curious all the time.
Oh my gosh. That is my favorite, one of my favorite shows right now. It is so well done.
It's amazing. I love it so much.
It's so well done. I will say though, we had Greg Garza and Mike Parkhurst on last week, and we were talking about Ted Lasso, and I'm like, I don't know if I love this season. Like I don't know what I need, but I'm like, Jason Sudeikis, I need a little bit more from you.
There's a lot of characters in it. So my wife and I discuss this all the time. So I'm 100% on board with you on this. I definitely agree. It's different than the other 2 seasons have been. The feel has been different. The comedic timing has been different with a lot of it. We both definitely feel that because there's so many characters, it's harder to be as focused as they had been in season 1 and season 2 with the limited number of cast members. I'm very interested to see where they're going with it. Like,
I'm very interested too.
It seems like this, in this most recent episode, and I don't want to ruin anything for anyone.
Spoiler alert.
In this most recent episode, Ted's unveiling of this new plan.
Yes.
I love it. I can't wait to see where they're going with this.
I can't either. Yeah, this past week's episode I was like, we are all over the place. What is going on? We are developing new characters. I cannot keep up. I don't know if I like this, but I'll watch it just because I love all the characters.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So good. Oh,
absolutely.
My gosh, they don't need to end that show anytime soon.
No, please don't. Please don't say Jason Sudeikis, if my request can go out there, please keep this going for a couple more seasons at least. Please.
And if you need like a chiropractor, we've got your guy.
I'll come guest star as a physio on the show. It's fine.
For free. What are some of your goals for the future of your practice?
So I would say one of the first goals is going to be being able to expand out of the temporary space that we're working out of right now to a fully fledged facility that is really equipped for what we want to do. Right now, I'm very grateful for the office that I'm working out of. Shout out to the Spine Lab. And they have a lot of what we would like to do. And so luckily I do have like the exercises equipment that I'm going to be able to need and use in the office so that I can really start implementing the care in the way that I want to. But long term, I'm definitely going to need a different amount of space, a different layout of the space, and offices for those other providers to be able to come in and work out of and things like that. So that is going to be the initial goal. And it's something, again, as an athlete, having that goal ahead of us is something that we know how to work for, we can train for, we can push for, and things like that. So I'm very excited about that and how we're going to be able to grow from there.
Yeah. I feel like the sky's the limit just in our brief conversation. How do you stay connected? Like, with being that you're a local Austinite, but like, how have you seen your, I guess, career just flourish with you being from here and now, having some years under your belt and now launching your own practice? How have you tapped into the local community, but also how have you seen them like pour into you?
So I think that one thing, I've tried to stay connected with my alma mater in the ways that I've been able to. I went to St. Edward's University down in South Austin. Okay. I've definitely tried to stay connected with the athletic training staff that's there and being able to keep connected with those athletes in that way. Mm-hmm. And with growing up here in Austin, I was a figure skater here. I've definitely stayed in connection with coaches, judges, club officials, throughout, even when I was in chiropractic school coming back to Austin. We would, hang out with people that we knew from the skating community for a long time. So staying connected with those roots has absolutely helped me grow the business on a whole. And every time we've had any kind of change to practice, change in location, everything else like that, the community on a whole has come through. And then through friends, through the relationships I've developed with whatever gyms we've worked with previously, the coaches, the trainers that we've known have absolutely always helped grow, helped be able to, direct clients to where they can find this type of care. And that has absolutely shown up again. It has been really cool to see people, reach out, get in touch with me and, want to help promote what we're doing. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Before we get into our rapid fire questions, which is usually my favorite part of each episode, what would you say to someone that is looking to get into the chiropractic space? What maybe one or two pieces of advice would you give them?
One, go talk to people in the field. I will definitely say, in my opinion, chiropractors on a whole are definitely willing to share their experiences, definitely willing to tell you about how they got to where they're going. It's something that I don't think there's a lot of mystery behind that door. Ask people, contact people. If you're looking into multiple different kinds of practice, go shadow a bunch of them. I'm pretty positive you'll be able to get in touch with a provider in your area that will say, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
No problem. We'd love to show you around. We'd love to show you what we do. You probably will not run into a lot of resistance with that. And then secondary to that is kind of look into the type of provider that you would want to be. So if you want to be a sports-based provider, check out things like physical therapy, athletic training, check out chiropractic and people that focus in sport a little bit more. I'm sure that even just by typing in a couple searches, your Instagram feed, your TikTok feed, whatever, will be absolutely filled with those type of providers. Yeah. And there's a bunch of really fantastic resources for that out there right now. Yeah, if anyone wants to ask me, personally, you can absolutely email the office. I'll answer any questions I absolutely can. And love to have anyone come by and check out and see what we do. We've always been very, very open to having people shadow.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I mean, hey, I might come check out the space too, just for myself. I'm sure. Wow, I'm
absolutely
sold.
We'll have to get you in.
I'm you gave me the elevator speech and I am all in. Okay. So Sam, this is my favorite portion of the show. It's rapid fire.
Let's get.
These are very just generic, fun questions, and just say the first either word or thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
I think so.
Favorite food truck in Austin?
Oh, that's a tough one. So We don't go to a lot of food trucks.
Okay.
Not that we don't love them. I'm probably going to say it's going to be something like Summer Moon, like the food truck down in South Austin.
Ooh.
Like, love getting coffee there. It's fantastic. That's probably going to be the answer.
Okay. Wow. And see, I'm learning things because I didn't realize that they had a food truck.
Yes.
I've only been to their standalone
Down
store.
off of Manchac and I think it's just north of William Cannon. They've got a like trailer.
Oh, wow. Good to know. Okay. I've been here almost 2 years and I love that. Favorite or most recent song you've listened to on Spotify?
Last Rites by Andrew McMahon. My wife and I have been a Andrew McMahon fan since he was in his first band that he ever came up with. It's awesome. I love it. And we are very excited about the new album that he just put out.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to tap it. Is he like what genre?
I don't know what genre I would classify him in. So he came up as like a pop punk person, but he's definitely not doing pop punk anymore.
Okay.
He plays the piano. I don't know how I would classify that, honestly.
Okay, we're just going to put him in the piano category.
There you go.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to check him out. Most recent Netflix or Hulu binge?
Oh, what were we just watching on Hulu? We've been watching How I Met Your Mother again on Hulu. Yes.
There's a lot of people that have,
Yes.
once the show ended, they were like, let's see what this is all about.
We watched it all the way through originally and were very disappointed in the original ending. But we loved the first, we'll call it 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah.
And so we're definitely watching through those. I'm pretty positive that we will stop watching once we get to the ones where we're like, all right, this is where it took a turn and we absolutely hated it.
This is where it went downhill. Okay, favorite sport to watch?
Figure skating. I gotta be real. That's my home sport. That's what I grew up with. My wife and I absolutely nerd out about skating because she was also a skater as well.
Okay.
Yeah, skating is definitely gonna be the favorite sport to watch. Obviously, we love watching soccer as well. I've always been like a football fan. Really, if you put me in front of the TV and there's sports on, I'm going to watch. Yeah.
So is your do you just love the Olympics?
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. We are fiends for the Olympics.
I will say growing up, that and swimming were like my 2 favorites because never say never, but I could never be a figure skater. And so I'm thoroughly impressed, not only with like their costumes, but obviously their ability to do what they do.
Oh yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, the athletic capability of skaters is off the charts. It's nuts.
I can't even ice skate on like a rink here. So I'm like, yeah, I would never compete at that high of a level. Favorite athlete? This can be a college, professional.
Right now, I'm definitely going to say Nathan Chen. He is our current reigning U.S. Olympic champion. Okay. What he has done for the sport of figure skating has absolutely changed it forever. And he capped it off with an Olympic victory. It's something that he has definitely changed the sport. It's amazing what he has done.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. What is your favorite quote or mantra that you live by?
Ooh, that's a good one. Right now, I'm going to go with the like, be curious from Ted Lasso. That is definitely the current one because it's something that I am trying to implement in everything that we do. And it's something that I try and live by when it comes to like how I practice, everything like that. That is definitely the current one, 100%.
What was the other one maybe from season 1 that was be a goldfish? Be
a goldfish is always a good one. Absolutely.
And that's like so, and I actually was in a business interview and the person I was the interviewee and they brought it up and I'm like, wow. I'm like, not only do you watch Ted Lasso, but like, yes, that's my quote. Or just like,
let's go. You just made this business deal. Let's make this happen.
I was like, let's close this out. What do you think should be Austin's next professional sports team?
That is a great question. I think it will likely be basketball or baseball. I would actually love to see basketball. I think that we have a great new facility with the Moody Center to be able to house that in. I don't know if that's large enough to really support a professional basketball team. But I think that has a good opportunity here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would say basketball and then football would be my second.
I don't know if Jerry Jones is going to allow a football team to come here to Austin.
I know. But like, why? Jerry, listen, it's like y'all have obviously Dallas and Houston. I'm like, what about Austin? We're growing.
We absolutely are.
Maybe in 5 years. We'll talk about it. I'm just glad that we have a soccer team.
I love that we have a soccer team.
Yeah.
And I love that the growth of Austin has allowed for that to happen.
Yes.
That, to me, it's something I know that a lot of long-term Austinites do not love the growth of Austin.
Yep.
I think that it has opened the city up to a lot of really fantastic new things that we would never have considered before. And so this first real professional team coming in and setting up shop here opens the door for so many other opportunities like that.
It really does. It's been amazing. I mean, my mom grew up in Austin, and we would come here for holidays. And then I officially moved out here about 2 years ago almost.
Well, welcome
so
in.
right
We're glad
when
to have
the
you.
inaugural year, and it was just, it's been amazing the last 2 years to see what, like you were saying, what this team has done for the city, but also to see like the community, like the excitement surrounding the team, and just like the passion and like, I don't know, just outpour of support around.
It has been so cool to watch that. Absolutely. And it has very much felt like the Austin community has been searching for something. Mm-hmm. And when this team arrived, they didn't realize that that's what they were searching for.
Yeah.
I have loved watching the community just build and grow and show up with so much support for every game, for just even bringing the team here, that it was such a we need to make this happen situation.
Yeah.
And it has been fantastic to be able to be even like a small part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. And I feel like for someone that's maybe not your typical soccer fan or just a fan of sports in general, that facility for Q2 is unreal.
It's beautiful.
Unreal.
And it just invites you in. Like, it invites you in. It says, come get some good food. We're going to watch something fun here.
Play some games. You don't even have to watch the game.
Exactly. you don't have to be a soccer fan to go enjoy a game there at all. And it is set up to be a very enjoyable environment. Oh, and also there's a great product on the field.
Yeah. And also, like, we win. We're really good. If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, I guess I should say dead and or alive, who would they be?
I want to have dinner with Scott Hamilton, for sure. So again, former Olympic figure skating champion. Absolutely. I want to have dinner with Ted Lasso.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So not Jason Sudeikis, the character. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Nothing against Jason Sudeikis, but I feel like a dinner with Ted would be absolutely hilarious.
So good.
And let's see. Martin Luther King. Like,
ooh, okay. Wow. I want to be at that dinner.
It's like, let's bring a little something different to it. I think that he was just such an inspirational character and like a fantastic human in like the civil rights movement that he pushed forward in such a huge way. That would be a very like wonderful person to speak to.
Yeah. That would be a very eclectic dinner for sure. For sure. I'm like, where are you guys going in Austin to have this?
No idea.
You're like, I'm going to have to think about that one. Well, Sam, it's been so awesome having you on the pod today. I know I speak for myself and Nico, who is not able to be here today, just appreciate you carving out some time to share your story, your journey, about your practice. I wish you all the best and all the success. You guys can find Train ATX on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. And Sam, let our listeners know where they can follow along.
So you can follow me on Instagram at Whole Athlete ATX or at Dr. Sam LaCroix. And then if you're looking for information on my practice, you can email us at info@wholeatx.com.
Perfect. And we will be sure to include those in the show notes. Again, thank you, Dr. Sam.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been fantastic being here.
Awesome.
Love the show.
Awesome. Thank you. And we will see you guys next time.